Hey everyone! Welcome to Anime Dreams. Excited to have you here on my channel. Today, we're diving into another thrilling fanfic discussion, What if Naruko had the Sharingan? Part 3. Disclaimer, this channel is dedicated to entertainment and discussion. I do not own any of the anime footage featured in my videos. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Does anyone smell something burning? Suika asked, sniffing the air as he looked up from his meal. A faint whistling sound echoed in the distance, quickly followed by a tremendous explosion. The barbecue shop's windows glowed red as fire erupted through them, sending a wave of heat surging through the air. Shouts of alarm filled the restaurant as people scrambled to escape the sudden chaos. A powerful shockwave slammed into Reeve's table before the flames passed over it. Although Might Guy, Neji, and Tenten suffered burns, they remained on their feet. Reeve winced as pain shot through his right forearm, his skin seared with second-degree burns that healed slowly and painfully due to the Nine Tails chakra. Suika had burn marks along the left side of his face, but his wounds healed in a similar fashion. Everyone else had minor burns, but panic set in as another ominous whistling sound filled the air. More fireballs were incoming. "We have to get out of here," Kakashi commanded urgently. "Obviously," Suika shot back, rising to his feet and helping Reeve up despite the heavy, stifling air that made every movement a challenge. Guy lifted Lee and Tenten, while Neji struggled to steady himself, sweat dripping down his face. Oddly enough, Guy remained dry despite the overwhelming heat. "Super absorbent jumpsuit," Reeve muttered, catching Suika's questioning glance. Kakashi hoisted Sarah, who had been knocked unconscious by the blast, over his shoulder, his gaze briefly flickering toward the young shinobi who remained unusually composed. "Dad, get her to the hospital. Suika and I will be fine," Reeve called out, noticing the concern on Kakashi's face. "Be careful," Kakashi replied with firm authority before vanishing in a blur. Suika pressed his palm against the ground, summoning his scythe from a seal embedded in the earth. As he gripped the weapon, Reeve turned to Neji. "Take Lee, Tenten, and Guy to the Hyuga compound," he instructed. Neji hesitated for a moment before nodding and leading the injured away. Reeve pulled out 2 kunai. "Hokage's tower?" he asked. "What's your reasoning?" Suika questioned. "Just a gut feeling." Suika sighed. "Of course it is." Without wasting another second, the two sprinted through the shattered remains of the shop's walls, only to be met with a devastating sight. The village they loved had been reduced to smoldering ruins. Entire streets lay in rubble, fire and smoke darkening the night sky, completely obscuring the moon and stars. Weapons clashed all around them, sparks flying through the air. The cries of struggling shinobi and terrified villagers echoed throughout the battlefield. The hidden leaf was under siege. A massive fireball hurtled toward them. Nearby ninja scattered, but Reeve leapt onto the remnants of the barbecue shop's roof, swiftly forming hand signs. Dropping his kunai, he activated a jutsu, creating a swirling black vortex that absorbed the fireball. Even so, the heat still burned his hands due to their proximity to the attack. Leaf Shinobi stared in shock at the young warrior who had just saved them. "What are you all waiting for? We have a village to protect," Suika called out as he joined Reeve on the roof. The two darted toward the Hokage's tower, leaping from rooftop to rooftop. Below them, the streets were filled with destruction. Injured shinobi lay scattered, some struggling to move while others desperately fought to protect civilians. Reeve surged ahead, intercepting an enemy ninja with a forceful punch to the jaw. He swiftly followed up by sweeping the attacker's leg and knocking him down before striking him unconscious. Suika, moving with precision, parried an incoming blow and countered with the blunt end of his scythe, knocking another opponent out cold. Reeve spotted a fallen ninja's katana and picked it up. The blade was forged from chakra metal, its hilt intricately designed to resemble a silver snake. The blade itself extended from the open mouth, with fangs connecting at the top and bottom, while the eyes of the serpent gleamed with a 3 Tomoe Sharingan design. The single-edged blade featured secondary serrations, designed for a clean initial cut followed by a tearing effect. Strapping the sheath, crafted from fine redwood with silver-capped ends, to his back, Reeve exchanged a determined nod with Suika before continuing forward. A sudden blur of motion caught their attention as a Jonin landed on the rooftop. Before he could react, Reeve delivered a swift kick to his jaw while Suika struck with his scythe, incapacitating him instantly. The ninja's headband bore a single musical note, the unmistakable symbol of the Hidden Sound Village. Meanwhile, Kakashi moved swiftly through the burning village, his mind filled with concern for his son and Naruko. He arrived at the hospital, where he was met with grim sights. Several fallen leaf shinobi lay near the entrance. A nurse rushed up to him. "Is it safe here?" Kakashi asked. "Yes, we have a secure perimeter," she assured him. "Fireball, close proximity," Kakashi summarized tersely, carefully lowering Sarah onto a hospital bed. "We'll take care of her," the nurse responded, swiftly guiding the injured girl inside. Kakashi glanced at the fallen enemy shinobi, recognizing their Sound Village headbands. A smirk crossed his face as he turned away. Not far from the hospital, Wolf, a fellow shinobi, was engaged in combat with an enemy ninja. Without hesitation, Kakashi stepped in, swiftly eliminating 2 attackers while Wolf finished off the remaining opponent. "Where's Reeve?" Kakashi demanded, his voice barely audible over the roaring flames. "He's headed to the Hokage Tower. I was following, but the battle forced us to separate," Wolf replied, exhaustion evident in his stance. Kakashi nodded. "Then let's go." Without another word, the 2 shinobi disappeared into the chaos, determined to protect their village at all costs. A sharp cry echoed through the air as a kusarigama struck a ninja, the weapon's chain retracting before slicing across their face. The ninja collapsed onto an academy student, who had already fallen, a kunai embedded in her right eye. "Chelsea!" Hinata cried out in alarm. A barrage of kunai hurtled toward her, but an arm moved into the way, taking the full brunt of the attack. The blade sank deep into muscle and bone. "This is seriously painful," the injured ninja gritted out. "Reeve?" Hinata stammered. "Hold still," Suika instructed, swiftly pulling the 6 kunai from Reeve's left arm before gripping his scythe once more. Reeve's expression hardened, frustration evident in the low growl escaping from his throat. Without hesitation, he charged forward, dropping low before severing an enemy ninja's leg just above the knee. In one fluid motion, he delivered a precise, near-vertical slash that incapacitated the opponent instantly. Wasting no time, Reeve retrieved a kunai, launching it with expert precision. The blade struck its target's throat, bringing them down, before he swiftly engaged another adversary. "Hinata, return to the compound," Reeve instructed firmly. "Neji and a few others are already there," Suika added in a steady yet commanding voice. "Understood, Suika-kun," Hinata responded softly before retreating. Reeve turned his attention to a nearby girl with black hair. "And what about you?" he asked. "First of all, thanks for the rescue," she said with a nod. "Name's Kasumi Yuki." "Reeve Hatake," he introduced himself. "Suika-zan Hagoromo," Suika added, his usual carefree tone present despite the tension. "Suika, we need to move," Reeve urged, impatience creeping into his voice. "Relax, will you?" Suika replied with a grin. "Relax? The village is literally on fire." Reeve shot back. Suika ignored the outburst and turned to Kasumi. "Hey, you want to come with us?" Kasumi nodded and fell in step with them, much to Reeve's frustration. Before they could advance further, several enemy ninja landed around them, blocking their path. The trio immediately adopted battle stances. "Reeve, think it's time to put those eyes to use?" Suika asked. "If I do, it'll drain my chakra," Reeve responded. "I have chakra pills," Kasumi interjected. "Fine," Reeve agreed, his tone darkening as his Sharingan flared to life. 2 enemy ninjas stiffened at the sight, But before they could react, Reeve moved with astonishing speed. He took one down in an instant, his blade striking with deadly accuracy. The second barely had time to register the attack before Reeve severed their leg and finished them off with a swift strike to the back of the head. Suika, not to be outdone, swung his scythe in a wide, sweeping arc. The three-pronged blade tore through multiple opponents, leaving jagged, deep cuts in its wake. Kasumi utilized her ice release, forming two mirrors. She hurled one of her kusarigama through the first mirror, and the weapon emerged from the second, striking an enemy from behind with pinpoint accuracy. The trio wasted no time advancing toward the tower, though their progress had been delayed, mostly due to Suika's distractions. Meanwhile, a group of ninjas surveyed the aftermath of the battle. "Look at this," Wolf muttered, scanning the trail of fallen enemies. "Who could have done all this?" he questioned aloud. Knew it had to be Suika. Reeve as well, especially if he got his hands on a sword, Kakashi observed as he crouched to inspect one of the fallen. Turning to Wolf, Kakashi asked, "You trained Reeve, how does he handle a blade?" Wolf crossed his arms, considering the question. "He's skilled, no doubt. He can take down an opponent easily, but his technique still lacks refinement." Kakashi studied the wounds, recognizing the rapid succession of strikes. "Which style does he favor most?" he inquired. "Reverse grip. Her standard grip is impressive, but her reverse grip is easily 10 times more refined," Wolf observed. "How many supplies do you have left?" Suika asked. "A few dozen," Kasumi replied. "Stay quiet, we're almost at the tower," Reeve whispered. The three ninja halted as they came across a scene of fallen leaf shinobi surrounding the entrance to the tower. "Do you think the Hokage is still inside?" Suika asked, his voice tinged with unease. Before anyone could answer, a loud explosion erupted from the roof. "That somewhat answers my question," he muttered. They hurried toward the rooftop, but before they could reach it, a body was sent flying through a doorway, nearly taking Reeve's head with it. His wide-eyed expression was almost comical. "Well, that was entertaining," a voice said. A pink-haired woman stepped forward, dusting off her brown gloves. She wore a red, form-fitting, sleeveless top with snug black shorts beneath a short, pink apron skirt. Matching pink elbow guards complemented her outfit, and a red Konoha headband held her pink hair in place. A medical pouch rested at the base of her back. Her fair complexion and striking emerald green eyes stood out vividly against her attire. "Huh? Who are you three?" she asked, shifting her weight slightly onto one leg as she studied them. "Reeve Hatake. Suikazan Hagoromo. Kasumi Yuki." The name's Sakura Haruno, she introduced herself. Without hesitation, Reeve began heading toward the top of the tower. Before he could get far, Sakura swiftly struck him on the head. "And where do you think you're going?" she demanded. "Ow. What was that for?" "I'm heading to the top of the tower," Reeve grumbled, rubbing his head from the impact. Before Sakura could explain why that was a reckless idea, a sound ninja suddenly rounded the corner, charging straight at Reeve. Without missing a beat, Reeve executed a low sweep, while Suika swung his scythe in an upward arc, effectively incapacitating the enemy. "I suppose that answers whether or not you can handle yourselves," Sakura remarked, crossing her arms. "Yes, because the bloodstains on our clothes didn't give that away already," Reeve said dryly. Sakura responded by promptly punching him, sending him crashing through the floor below. Meanwhile, in another part of the tower, a voice rang out. "What is the meaning of this?" the Kazekage demanded. "I'm simply following orders," a hooded figure replied with little emotion. He raised his sword and brought it down, only for it to clash against another blade. Reeve had managed to position himself between the assailant and the downed Kazekage. Both the Hokage and Kazekage seemed affected by something, struggling to move. "This guy is trouble," Reeve muttered. "Well, at least you've got eyes on him," Suika remarked. "Incorrect," the hooded man stated. With a dramatic motion, he cast off his cloak, revealing himself. Sakura tensed. "Itachi?" she whispered. "Itachi Uchiha, huh? I expected someone more intimidating," Kasumi commented. The legendary shinobi fixed his gaze on Reeve. "So, the child survived and became a ninja," Itachi observed. Reeve's hands trembled, and his breathing became erratic. Suika had never seen him like this. His breathing pattern had changed. This wasn't simple panic. No, it was something far worse. Placing a hand on Reeve's shoulder, Suika grounded him back to reality. "Sakura-sensei, what's the plan?" Kasumi asked. He. Sakura struggled to find words, still in shock. "All right, then, protect the Kages and take him down," Suika declared before charging forward, his scythe tearing up the floor behind him. Reeve and Kasumi swiftly followed. With effortless precision, Itachi sidestepped Suika's scythe, leaned left to evade Reeve's sword, and caught Kasumi's kusarigama mid-air. In one swift motion, he yanked it, pulling her off balance before sending her flying back with a powerful kick. Suika attempted another strike, but Itachi seized his scythe and used the momentum to hurl him straight into Reeve. "This is not going well," Reeve admitted, frustrated. "I never thought I'd have to say this," Suika sighed. "Hey, Reeve, why don't you go into? Are you out of your mind?" Reeve interrupted before he could finish. "Unless you're too afraid to take me on. After all, you've never really been a challenge for me in taijutsu," Suika said with a smirk, taunting Reeve. "What did you just say?" Reeve shouted as a surge of the fox's chakra coursed through him. Suika casually ran past Itachi, giving him a light pat on the shoulder. "Well, nice knowing you." Itachi turned to face Reeve, his eyes widening in surprise at the transformation. Before he could react, Reeve lunged forward, breaking through his defense with a powerful hook. The force sent Itachi skidding across the rooftop tiles, but he quickly regained his footing, wiping a trace of blood from his lip. Shadow clones materialized around him and charged at Reeve. In a swift motion, Reeve struck one with a kick to the ribs, then executed a precise back crane kick to another's throat, dispersing them instantly. A sound ninja landed beside Itachi and launched an attack, but Reeve was faster. He ducked beneath the incoming punch and retaliated with a powerful clawed strike, sending the enemy tumbling backward. Without hesitation, Reeve followed up with a backflip kick that sent the ninja crashing to the ground. As Reeve landed, his movement suddenly halted. He had been caught in Itachi's powerful genjutsu, the formidable Tsukuyomi. His surroundings shifted, and he found himself paralyzed, forced to witness his worst fears unfold before him. The illusion gripped his mind, making every moment feel agonizingly real. Reeve collapsed to the ground as Suika and Kasumi rushed to his side. Itachi prepared to move, but before he could react, a kunai struck the ground in front of him, followed by a powerful right hook from Sakura that sent him staggering backward. A Konoha ninja landed nearby. "Lord Hokage, the sound ninja are retreating," she reported cheerfully. "Understood," the Hokage responded as he and the Kazekage stood, having taken the moment to recover. Meanwhile, Suika had skillfully used Senjutsu to help realign their spinal cords. "Take him to the hospital," the Kazekage instructed. "He'll need time to recover." Kakashi and Wolf arrived just in time to see Sakura carefully lifting Reeve. "Reeve!" Kakashi called out, his concern evident. "He's all right, just exhausted." "Go to the hospital," the Hokage assured him. Suika crossed his arms. "What are you talking about? He was just trapped in Tsukuyomi, he's going to be dealing with this for a long time." His blunt remark only deepened Kakashi's worry. Wolf, still catching his breath, approached the Hokage. "How did it go?" The Hokage exhaled and gave a small chuckle. "Those three Genin are some of the most skilled I've seen." His expression then turned sharp as he glanced at Suika, who stood there grinning. "And also, possibly the most troublesome." The Hokage continued, his tone serious. For them to survive this battle and hold their own against Itachi for as long as they did. There's no doubt they have the potential to take on entire villages in the future. He turned to Sakura. Sakura. Hi, Lord Hokage. She responded with a respectful bow. From this moment on, those 3 Genin are under your leadership. You are their squad leader. Before Sakura could respond, Kasumi suddenly collapsed from exhaustion. Without hesitation, Suika scooped her up and headed toward the hospital. No objections, Sakura, the Hokage added firmly. Sakura straightened up, understanding the weight of the responsibility placed on her. The battle may have ended, but for her and her new team, the real journey was just beginning. About a week had passed since the attack, and, almost unbelievably, most of Konoha's central business district had already been restored. To the average person, this rapid reconstruction might have seemed unusual, but those familiar with the builder's abilities understood the incredible power of the Makuten. Suika walked through the hospital, observing the injured shinobi who lined the hallways. Many were slumped against the walls, their bodies wrapped in bandages, bearing the marks of battle. Some had suffered severe wounds, one had lost a limb, while another had endured injuries that robbed them of their sight, hearing, and sense of smell. Despite the severity of their conditions, medical teams worked tirelessly to provide care and aid. Reaching the 5th floor, Suika caught sight of the Hokage, an individual deserving of the utmost respect. Lord Hokage, Suika said, quickly bowing in deference. There's no need for such formality, Suika-zan, I'm glad to see you're well, the Hokage responded warmly. How is your friend doing? I'm not sure yet, I was just on my way to visit, Suika replied. In that case, allow me to accompany you, the Hokage offered. Together, they stepped into room 69, where Reeve and Kasumi rested side by side. Kasumi had survived her ordeal, while the attack had not been fatal, it had resulted in multiple fractured ribs, severe internal bleeding, and even a brief cardiac episode due to the shock. Reeve, however, was in a more concerning state. Although his physical wounds had healed, the genjutsu he had endured had left a profound impact on his mind, rendering him unresponsive and in a coma. As they stood by, the door opened, and a doctor named Mizu entered. Upon seeing the Hokage, she respectfully bowed, mirroring Suika's gesture. Lord Hokage, she greeted courteously. Suika stepped forward. How is he doing? I'm not sure. Physically, she seems fine, but for some reason, she isn't waking up, the doctor stated with a hint of concern. Sarah wheeled herself into the room, her mobility restricted due to a fractured femur caused by the explosion and flying debris. Ah, I expected you to still be on strict bed rest, the Hokage remarked. I technically am, but I can't stand being confined to that bed, so I borrowed a wheelchair, Sarah responded casually. More like you strongly persuaded us into letting you take it, the doctor quipped with a sarcastic smirk. More importantly, how can you not enjoy hospital beds? They have buttons. You press them, and it's like, zzzzzzz, the bed moves. Suika exclaimed with excitement. Sarah cast him a disapproving look, prompting Suika to grin mischievously. Go ahead, try to get rid of me. You know you can't. I heard you showed great courage during the battle, Sarah commented, shifting the focus back to Suika. It was nothing. You should really thank him, Suika said, motioning toward Reeve. Honestly, we might not be standing here if he hadn't lost his composure. Though, if he weren't so reckless, I probably would have headed straight for the gate. Might have gone back to check on Hinata, though. Maybe Hanabi too, he mumbled. Sarah chuckled at his remark, well aware of Suika's long-standing crush on Hinata since their academy days. However, his fondness for her younger sister was a different story, especially after Hanabi boldly proposed to him using her mother's ring. It had been an awkward moment for everyone involved. I assume I was called here for a reason, Sakura muttered as she entered the room, stretching her arms. Yes, I need you to find Jiraiya, the Hokage stated while pouring himself a glass of water. Sakura sighed. Of course, she mumbled under her breath. Noticing her reluctance, the Hokage redirected the conversation. Suikazan, I have yet to properly thank you for your efforts. It was nothing, Hokage Dono. Any shinobi would have done the same, Suika replied with a grin. Well? Maybe not one who actually values their safety, he added with a shrug. Turning his attention to Reeve, the Hokage observed him closely. Doctor, I've noticed some unusual changes in the young Hatake's appearance. His hair and nails seem different, he pointed out as he gently lifted Reeve's head, helping him take a sip of water. The doctor stepped closer, carefully examining Reeve. His once black hair was gradually turning white, and his nails had darkened to an inky black. The transformation was subtle yet persistent, progressing at an almost imperceptible pace over the past 2 weeks. It's a condition known as Marie Antoinette syndrome. It occurs when extreme emotional or psychological stress manifests physically, the doctor explained, rubbing her eyes, visibly fatigued. Is there any way to reverse it? Sarah inquired. Yes, but only if he comes to terms with whatever has caused it. True acceptance is the key. If he fully acknowledges what he has endured, his body may gradually return to normal, the doctor responded. Suika raised an eyebrow. I have to call nonsense on that. You're a doctor, not some kind of mystic. He retorted. Before the doctor could respond, the Hokage tactfully shifted the conversation. And what about Miss Yuki? He asked, deliberately ignoring the growing argument between Suika and the exhausted physician. I'm right here, you know. Kasumi interjected, her voice carrying slight irritation. She sustained severe rib fractures, which led to a punctured lung. Fortunately, thanks to that so-called reckless fool over there, she received help in time, a second doctor explained, nodding towards Suika. The first doctor, clearly frustrated with Suika's comments, stormed out of the room without another word. The Hokage understood. Suika's abilities were well documented, his speed surpassed that of most Onbu operatives, though he rarely demonstrated it. Before anyone could continue the discussion, Jiraiya entered the room, looking particularly disheveled. A very irritated Sakura followed closely behind, gripping his hair with a firm hand. Let go already! Jiraiya complained, trying to break free from her grasp. Ignoring his protests, Sakura unceremoniously tossed him onto the floor in front of the Hokage. After a few moments, Jiraiya was released and expressed his gratitude. Jiraiya, I need you to locate Tsunade, the Hokage instructed, his aged voice carrying a firm undertone. Is she aware of the sound ninja? Jiraiya asked. I'm almost certain she is. You'll likely find her in one of the nearby towns, the Hokage responded. Lord Hokage, may I make a request? Suika spoke up. What is it, Suika-zan? The Hokage asked, his expression shifting to one of curiosity. I would like to accompany Jiraiya Dono. He is a toad sage, and I have inherited similar abilities through my Hagoromo clan's Kekkei Genkai, Gamagan. I believe he can also help me refine my frog kata technique, Suika explained. I have no objections. If you can use frog kata and their abilities, you may as well be contracted with them, Jiraiya remarked casually. Forget it. Suika huffed. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes at the younger sage but said nothing further. Any updates on Kakashi? Sarah inquired. He left on a mission and should return in a few days, the Hokage replied. Meanwhile, Kakashi was on a mission with Guy's team. As they took a short break, he studied a locket in his hand. Inside, he had placed a small photo he had carried in his wallet, one of Sarah smiling, with Reeve unintentionally photobombing in the background. How are you holding up, Kakashi? Guy asked. Kakashi remained silent, but his visible eye conveyed everything. It was slightly lowered, as if weighed down by deep thought. I know you're concerned, but remember, Sarah is Anbu, and Reeve is your son. He knows how to handle himself, and we both know he's one tough kid, Guy said, attempting to lift his friend's spirits. How much longer until we catch this rogue ninja? Kakashi asked. A few more days, Neji answered. Their mission was to track down a rogue ninja who had covertly allowed sound operatives into the village. The infiltration had likely been a slow process over the course of a year, requiring strategic planning reminiscent of a skilled tactician. As they journeyed to the next town, Suika sat on a tree branch, a small metal cup in one hand. He casually swung his leg over the branch, taking a thoughtful sip from the cup before swirling the liquid and tasting it again. The beans were over-roasted. Note to self, avoid buying beans from the Haruno Roasting Company, he muttered, eyeing the dark liquid, in which the reflection of the North Star shimmered. Still, with the right preparation, I can probably make the rest of this batch work. Suika, it's the middle of the night. Jiraiya suddenly called out, sitting up from his sleeping bag. Yeah, I know, Suika replied, taking another sip of his drink. Why didn't you wake me up? Do you recall why you lost consciousness in the first place? Suika asked dryly. Jiraiya blinked. No. What happened? You had a severe nosebleed and lost a significant amount of blood, which, honestly, is rather concerning. Fortunately, someone was kind enough to help, so you're fine now. Jiraiya groaned, rubbing his temples. I really need to be more careful. Dear YouTube family. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for your love and support. Best regards. Anime Dreams.